Now, a few words about why we're so ill-equipped to address this problem. In other words, why we're all screwed. First is the earlier point that we don't think we have prejudices. But even if we've woken up to the fact that we all have prejudices and that we'd better strengthen our good ones, we're in a tough spot. Our prejudices no longer come from trusted elders, our immediate social circle, or our experience in the world, but from mass media, in most of our cases, algorithms. We like to make fun of the libs who were radicalized by Disney Plus shows to try and assault law enforcement, the No Kings protesters whose ideas about monarchy are formed entirely by Lin-Manuel Miranda, or the MSNBC Americans holding signs and playing djembe drums in Friendship Square. They have lost all sense of reality and are playing a character in a drama that in no way resembles reality. But we're no better off if our preconceived notions are all derived from online slop, fed to us by a computer code. If cable news and fruity streaming shows warp people's minds, how much more do algorithms? When they watch cable news, they're watching an entertainment product dressed up as information that exists as a way to sell ED pills and pocket catheters. But that doesn't mean that you're better off watching content curated by an algorithm. When you do, you aren't looking at an unvarnished picture of the world. You're looking at a picture of the world designed to fit you, based on past behavior and revealed preferences. And instead of ED pills, the product is your attention. Also, at least Disney Plus shows take some effort. How can we denigrate people whose moral categories are shaped by Andor when all our categories are shaped by Instagram Reels? We're no closer to the real world just because our slop was filmed on phone cameras. There is no algorithm designed to give you Burke's general bank and capital of nations and of ages. Every algorithm is designed to give you enough intermittent hits of dopamine that you stay on the platform. That's it. You can use these things to connect with tradition and history, but that's not what they're designed for. The internet, especially algorithm-based social media, is a distraction machine. And as we know from experience, distraction destroys memory. The trouble is, this isn't just an individual problem. To quote Nicholas Carr, personal memory shapes and sustains the collective memory that underpins culture. Culture is sustained in our synapses. And as playwright Richard Foreman says, we are drained of our inner repertory of dense cultural inheritance. Mass media, especially the internet, gives us the sensation of being alone. You spend hours a day looking at something tailored to your appetites, and then look around at other people who have also been doing the same. It also makes you feel isolated in time. In short, the internet has had the same effect on our common memory and common sense as the French Revolution sought to have on the French populace. This makes us vulnerable not only to the whims of the elites, but also to other stronger cultures. The West, in its unofficial headquarters, the US of A, has very little holding it together. Culture, common sense, folk wisdom, unwritten rules, these are the core things that make a nation cohere. But that's not a problem in other places, at least not as big a problem. Yes, the internet goes everywhere, but the effects haven't been as destructive everywhere. Our culture was already weakened by the time the internet came around. If American culture was a vase, we'd already broken the thing and swept up the big pieces. The internet just shucked up the shards from the carpet. On the other hand, the Islamic world hadn't been weakening itself for the last century. Neither had the Hindu world. These cultures, with a stronger sense of self, will swallow up a weakened West if we don't get our act together. In 2024, a 90-foot statue of a Hindu god known as Hanuman the Monkey King was unveiled in Sugar Land, Texas. Also in 2024, and also in Texas, Epic City was announced. Epic standing for East Plano Islamic Center. It's a 402-acre plot that would be a self-sustained Islamic city about 40 minutes from where I used to live, closer to my home in Texas than my church was. The reaction of conservative Americans was outrage of the most impotent kind. They went scrambling, looking for a law they could use to argue against it. Surely there's something in there. They debated endlessly about the true meaning of the First Amendment, but to no avail. They were like the opposing team in Air Bud, when the dog walks on the basketball court. Surely this can't be allowed, it's insane. But as we all know, say it if you know it, ain't no rule says a dog can't play basketball. I thought you guys were cultured. All right. It's worth a try. So I guess that settles it. I guess we have to drive past 90-foot monkey statues on the way to work. I guess we have to live 40 minutes from a colony of Muslims. I guess we have to play basketball with a dog. Throughout the controversy, no one just said, no thanks, that's not how we do things here. Because really, who's to say how we do things here? What is we anyway? What is here anyway? They're not hurting anyone, there's no law against it, and there's no one sitting in that bus seat. This is the way the world ends.